It is indeed a remarkable progress which has taken place since the First Minister came here in 2016, and if I may quote her in our conversation, discovered there was a dynamic theatre of cooperation and action and progress north of Scotland. And she said that maybe we had been too focused about London. And so we take your visit here as a strong signal that this is going to continue. When the First Minister was here on the stage last time, I put on the map, unfortunately we didn't have the slide here, what I called the North Atlantic corridor, which sort of ranges from Scotland through the Faroe Islands, through Iceland, through Greenland to the United States. And it was an attempt to draw attention to the fact we already have shipping, cargo transport along this corridor. We have fascinating airline connections as well. We have in Scotland and Iceland, the Faroe Islands and Greenland, remarkable clean energy progress. So how does that strike you as a kind of economic vision for Scotland, instead of continuing to looking at London, with all due respect to that great city where my wife still has her home, to start looking at the North Atlantic corridor, as I call it?
Well, thank you very much for the question. And you're absolutely right in terms of thinking of our immediate northern European neighbourhood, and thinking about the areas in which we share a common agenda. And I think shipping is one of those areas. But I think energy, for those of you who've not are not familiar with the scale of Scotland's renewable potential, it's really very striking. I made mention there shortly before the end, we are 2% of Europe's population, but we have 25% of Europe's renewable wind energy resource. So we have a huge ambition. Not only are we at 99% of our domestic electricity production, or consumption rather, is from renewable energy, but we have the potential to produce vast amounts of renewable electricity, and then as a result of that, hydrogen. And that's one of the areas that I'm keen to explore with Northern European neighbours, about the extent to which we can bring about better interconnection. So whether we are producing hydrogen in Scotland or electricity in Norway, you pointed out yourself the potential links from Greenland to Iceland to Faroes to Shetland to Norway, Denmark and the continental European continent. So there's huge potential, and I am very keen that we work together with our Northern European neighbours on that, but as well as other issues from shipping to academic cooperation, to make sure that we are making the most of our responsibilities in Northern Europe to the environment, but also to underscore the change from dependency from hydrocarbons to renewable and responsible energy sources.
Good. Okay. So, are there any questions from the audience?
Everybody was in agreement. Thank you very much.
No, it's, you see, as was pointed out earlier on, within the Arctic we have, you can call it territorial governments. They are different names. There's no international term in English that covers this entity. We call them states in America, provinces in Canada, and so on. And we have seen here today with the Prime Minister of Greenland, the Foreign Minister from the Faroe Islands, and we will see also as we go forward in this assembly, how these regions are playing a very dominant role, increasingly so. And a lot of new things are happening under the territory. To what extent does Scotland see itself as a laboratory of innovation in many areas, politics, energy, business, climate?
Well, we certainly have different agendas to some other governments, that's for sure, some of them even quite close to us on our own islands. So it's a good thing that we're able to make policy autonomously on a range of subjects, from health to education to justice, transport, the environment, and so on. But there are still a large number of policies that we're not able to determine in Scotland. So we're not able to determine, for example, our own membership of the European Union, having voted to remain in. So Scotland's constitutional journey is not static, and we intend to have a referendum in Scotland, the public having voted for a parliament and a government for that to happen, so that we can decide whether we become a sovereign nation able to make decisions just like every other normal nation.
Okay. Let's say that happens. I apologize to anyone here representing the British government. Let's say that happens. Would Scotland then apply to be a fully fledged member of the Arctic Council or an observer state?
Well, if you'll have us, I would be delighted for us to be full members. But I leave that up to others to decide. What I think is more important than the terminology is that we play our fullest possible part in proceedings, so that we can contribute to the greater good. And I would very much look forward to that. Yes, but you see, the meaning
of this question is, would your ambition to be a fully fledged member of this Arctic family of nations, or would you...
Yes, unambiguously, yes.
Okay, then you would apply for full membership in the Arctic Council. Okay, I will end on that note, because we are already, in terms of the general session, on our time limit. And finally, we will have here on the stage the announcement of the Arctic Circle Japan Forum, where we will come together in Tokyo in a few months' time. And the president of the Sasakawa Peace Foundation, which is our host organization, and the Arctic ambassador of Japan will present the Arctic Circle Japan Forum as a final part of this opening session. Thank you.
Thank you, President Grímsson.